into the world of culture, gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to The Etiquette Show. I'm Conchetta Rose. Michael A. Lee, MD, a physician poet, uses humor and laughter to entertain all with his unique brand of whimsical rhyming poetry and illustrations. Dr. Lee's first book, Not Gonna Write Poems, published in 2019, is an anthology of entertaining poems and drawings that with real subjects such as homework, getting old, fear, and allergies. His latest book, How Much Do You Love Me, is a sweet and touching rhyming short tale of the unwavering and undying love of a parent. Dr. Lee's goal with his two books is for parents to read them out loud to their kids and be entertained. Today with us on The Etiquette Show, we have Dr. Michael Lee. Dr. Lee, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Conchetta. It's my pleasure to be here. Happy to talk to you today.
Awesome. So tell us, we'll get into it right away. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you fall upon becoming a doctor? How did you become a writer? Tell us.
Well, it's kind of, it's always been something that I always wanted to do. Pretty much since I was in fourth grade, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't always know I wanted to be a writer and a poet, but that came later. So I was born and raised in New York, in Brooklyn, and I really started writing poetry more seriously in high school, mainly, when I took a poetry class. And then after that, it just kind of, I did it on a spare time. When I had time, I would do it. But then I became more serious in 2017. I was actually inspired by Shel Silverstein. Most people know him well. He's a very famous American poet, writer, illustrator. So that was my inspiration for my writing. And of course, my family too. My young daughter, she loves poetry, and my wife as well. So we would read Shel Silverstein's books and look at and laugh at his funny poetry and his sketches at nighttime before putting my daughter to bed. So that was really my inspiration.
That's amazing. So what was that? So you always had writing, you always had poetry in your life. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Like I said, it was kind of more on a very casual basis, informal basis. And then I really started getting serious with my poetry writing about 2017, when I realized we enjoyed Shel Silverstein's book so much that we said, hey, my wife and I, we said, hey, why don't we try to meet Shel Silverstein? And then I researched it, and I found out that he died in 1999. So obviously we can't go meet Shel Silverstein. So the next best thing was, I decided, I can write poetry. I think I'm pretty decent at writing poetry, and I like to write funny poetry. So that's when I started to write. And it took me about a year to write the 78 poems in my first book, Not Gonna Write Poems. And then I started drawing, and my daughter actually helped me with the sketches that accompany the poetry in the book.
That's amazing. Well, let's talk about this title for 1 second, Not Gonna Write Poems. It is an entire poetry book, and your title is Not Gonna Write Poems. How'd you land on that title?
Well, it's kind of like, in a way, I wanted it to be funny and to tell people, hey, even though the title of the book is Not Gonna Write Poems, it's really all about poetry, and it's all poems. Yeah. So it's kind of a play on words, so to speak, and to get people to say, hey, why is this book called Not Gonna Write Poems? But it's all about poetry. So I figured I'd start the ball rolling and get people like thinking and laughing and just wondering, what's this book about?
Yeah, you sort of break down that wall of this is a poetry book, versus don't worry about it. You're going to understand it. You're going to love it. This is not about poems, and then I open it and I'm like, wait, that's great. That's very clever. I love that.
You know what, Conchetta, a lot of poetry, and a lot of why people don't always like poetry is that it's hard to understand, especially for little kids. Like they're like, what does that mean? Or I don't really get the meaning of the poetry. And the goal of my book partly was to have parents read it to their children or read it to their grandkids and their families and spend family time together. That's important to me because obviously working as an urgent care physician in New York, I'm busy. I don't have a lot of time. And especially at nighttime when I get home, it's like a great thing to do with my daughter, just to spend that quality time, the 10 or 15 minutes, just reading a few poems, looking at the illustrations and laughing and having a good time before you go to bed, instead of watching TV all the time or spending time on the computers. We've had enough of that. Everybody's sick of that, especially in this pandemic that we're going through now. It's a great way for your family to bond together and to spend quality time together.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. And you know, you did that. You created that world for your daughter and for your family to celebrate being together almost, you know? And I think that's amazing that you didn't wait for somebody else to write a book of poems that children can understand. You just said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put this out there for my daughter and for the other daughters and sons of the world. You know, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So how has it been, if I can ask, how has it been at your hospital? How has it been during this pandemic?
Well, I actually work in urgent care. So it's mainly I work in Queens, New York, but I also do a little bit in Long Island and also Manhattan. Okay. So I'm like running around all over the place. I work long hours. And really, we're kind of at the front lines. We're taking care of patients that are usually not super sick, not enough to go to the hospital, but that's what urgent care do. They're kind of like the in-between, the medium between being so sick that you have to go to the hospital, and obviously some people can't see their primary care doctors. A lot of primary care doctors don't even want to see their patients if they're sick, if they're exhibiting COVID signs, such as fever or cough. So they say, oh, no, we can't see you because you're sick. So we have that ability to, diagnose patients right there with rapid COVID tests, and then, depending on how sick they are, we can hopefully manage them as outpatients so they don't have to go to the hospital. So that's where I work in urgent care, basically.
Yeah. Wow. So what is the general vibe? Because I'll tell you, from as a layperson out here, sometimes it feels very, very hopeless. It feels very hopeless. And I'm generally a positive person, so I try to push through that hopeless feeling and say, take care of yourselves, wear your mask, wash your hands, it's socially distanced, things like that. I try to do that to my best ability, but we're not in control of the whole world. We're not in control of anybody. So it does feel a little hopeless on this end. How does it feel for you being on the front lines like that?
Well, it's tough because you're working long hours. You're seeing some patients that are sick that have to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And then you hear stories, of course, when they're in the hospital, lots of times relatives, they can't even see their loved ones. So they're not only sick and their families are stressed out, but then they have no way of actually holding their hands and being with them when they're at their weakest moment, when they're suffering from COVID, when they're suffering from other diseases. Other diseases haven't gone away. People still get sick and still have heart attacks and strokes, but COVID on top of it adds an additional stress for families, people losing their jobs. They have to socially isolate, so they can't go out to movies and dinners. So it just creates a lot of stress, and that's another good reason to read funny poetry, because we all need to laugh in this time, especially being a doctor. I see sick patients. I see the stress on people's faces. I see, people getting sick and being worried about their families and losing their jobs. I hear the stories. They tell me this. So, my book is really a way to escape and to have some laughter and to have some fun, because, it's stressful in this time. It's stressful for families, people losing their jobs and, getting sick and having to worry about COVID and wearing masks. So poetry is an art. It's just like medicine is an art. Poetry allows you to express through words and rhymes and rhythm your meaning and your message. Just like medicine is an art as well, it's an art of combining a physician's skill at diagnosing diseases together with all the ancillary tests and CAT scans and MRIs that you can do to help treat, and diagnose diseases. So there's a parallel there.
I was just going to ask you, for you, what the connection is between your poetry, between the arts and the medical arts, so to speak. But that's a beautiful way of joining the two. It's a different form of medicine. It's medicine for the soul. It's medicine for the mind. You know, that's stunning. I love that. I absolutely love that. So you love Shel Silverstein, as do I. Where the Sidewalk Ends was a book I ripped as a child because I read it so many times. It just ripped in half. So I am right there with you on that. Is there another writer that you admire, like, or a children's writer or a poet or anyone else?
Well, I mean, Shel Silverstein was my main inspiration because I just love his style. It appeals to both kids and adults. Of course, we all read Dr. Seuss as well. I mean, he's another favorite of mine. But really, Shel Silverstein had an appeal to me because, like, he appeals to adults because he talks about sensitive subjects and some adult subjects, but he puts it in a way that you can find humor in it, that you're not disgusted by it, you're not, like, thrown off by it. And it makes it a way that children can understand it, too. Because for me, a lot of poetry is very mundane and it's hard to understand, and you have to scratch your head and go, what is the poet trying to tell me? I don't really understand. Where my poetry is more simple. It's adults can understand it and so can kids because it's simple. It's all about having fun and enjoying yourself and about the little things, about little things in life, about having to do homework and bad teachers and allergies. We all have these things that we come across in our lives, and I just try to poke humor at those things.
Do you have any one of them that you wouldn't mind reading for us? Or I don't want to put you on the spot. If you have it there in your hands.
Sure, I have a lot of poems. This is my book.
Here it is. Not Gonna Write Poems. Look how cute. I love it. I love it. Now, you did the illustration of this one as well?
Say that again, Consider. I missed what you said.
No problem. Did you do the illustrations for Not Gonna Write Poems as well?
Hello? Sorry, I can't hear you, Consider.
No problem. Can you hear me now?
Sorry, your sound is like, I hope you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
I can hear you perfectly. Nothing?
Now I hear you. For like a minute, I couldn't hear you. Did you want me to read a poem, what you said?
Yes, I was asking if you did the illustrations for Not Gonna Write Poems.
Sorry, you're cutting out on me again.
Technology is fun, you see. Did you do the illustrations?
I have. I did all of the illustrations. Well, actually, I didn't do all the illustrations. My daughter did about 30% of these illustrations. Almost all these 78 poems in my book are illustrated, so I did about 70%. My daughter did about 30%. She was only 10 years old when she did it. So, and I had to kind of bribe her a little bit because, at that age, they'd rather, play with toys rather than draw something for dad.
Is amazing. That is amazing. I love that you really, you wrote the book with her in mind, but really you got her to collaborate with you. That's so impressive. So yes, please read us any one of your poems that you would like.
Okay. Let's see. It's called So What's in My Belly Button? Here I drew a guy. What's in my belly button? I really want to know. Maybe in it, I'll find a crystal rose, or maybe a chunk of Play-Doh, or perhaps a nugget of precious gold. I'll keep scratching and picking in my free time, because I just might find a couple of extra dimes, or maybe I'll find a sparkly diamond too. And if I did just that, then wouldn't you? You might think it's kind of strange, or even perhaps slightly deranged, to want to pick your belly button night and day, But even if this chore won't land me a big score, at least I won't have lint in my belly button anymore. Yeah, so I try to make it time and make it funny, and we're poking fun of somebody's belly button lint, but hopefully people can appreciate that.
That's so great. It does have very much a Shel Silverstein vibe for me, because I remember reading his poems and thinking, and like laughing like that and thinking, oh man, this is weird, this is gross, but I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's fabulous. That's fantastic. So now, not going to it's all about real subjects that people deal with, like belly button lint, or like homework, or anything you can relate to, right? It's a nice, beautiful anthology of poems. Let's talk about your other book. Let's talk about your second book. Do you have that?
Sure. My book, I have it here.
How Much Do You Love Me? That is awesome. Now, you did all the illustrations,
And here's
your daughter again?
I did. I couldn't convince my daughter because she's older now, so I couldn't convince her to draw the pictures, although I tried as an artist. So I decided to do it myself, because obviously I'm more focused at this point than my daughter. So I decided, hey, why not do it myself? I'm a decent artist, I think. So
That's amazing.
even though I have no formal training in art, I do it.
You didn't need.
My book is really about. Say again.
I said you didn't need any formal training, clearly.
Thank you. I get some laughs at least, so that helps. So really, it's a poem that I wrote a couple of years ago, and I decided, why don't I put it in book form, just like Shel Silverstein did with his first book. So I did that with this book. It's really about a love between a father and a daughter. A daughter that's like, she asks, things in her world, like, how much do you love me? Like, she asked the tree, and she asked the wind, and she asked the sun and the moon, how much do you love me? But then ultimately she asked her dad, and her dad kind of explains to her in his own way how much he loves her, and he's always going to be there for her. And that was my kind of message to my daughter, that I'm always going to be there for you. And that's, so it's a sweet poem. It's about a bond between a dad and his daughter. So anybody that has a child can relate to that, I think. And, kids always have questions, like always asking, how is this done? Or why is the moon, up in the sky? So this is a very simple question that every kid asks their parent. And one of them might be, how much do you love me? So it's my way of responding to my daughter's question and telling her that I'm always going to be there for her. And it also deals with death, because in this book, I die, but I also am there with her, obviously not in a physical sense, not with my body, but I'm there in her mind, in her heart. And, so she still can feel my presence, even though I'm not there. So that's the important message that I'm trying to relay. And I think it's a message that any parent and anybody can relate to, because we've all lost a parent, a loved one, a child, whatever it is. And, there comes the sadness, and it's like, but at the same time, I'm trying to inspire my daughter in telling her, I'll be there for you. Even if my body is gone, I'm still with you. So I get told a little bit about her. I hope she appreciates it. Sorry.
Yes. No, that's beautiful. You're speaking from the heart. That's beautiful. She does. She does now. She doesn't know she does now, but when she becomes a full-grown woman too, she'll appreciate it all the more, and she'll cherish those books and cherish that you spent all that time trying to convey to her just how much you love her, which I'm a parent too. It's impossible to tell them how much we love them. It's impossible. We can just show them until we're gone. And then we'll still show them. We'll send them things, you know, and that's so stunning. That's beautiful. I have chills all over. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Do you want to read a little piece of that to us?
Sure, I'll start it off, and then
Yeah, just
it's a very short book. It's only 20-something pages, so it's an easy read. But the first thing is, it says, "How much do you love me?" asked the little girl to the tree. So the tree replied, "I love you so much that I'll give you my shade for free." "How much do you love me?" asked the little girl to the wind. So the wind answered back, "I love you so much that I'll give you the breeze, so you will be cool when it's 98 degrees.
Look at how.
So it goes on.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but it's just something that at the end she asked her dad the same question, and you can read, if you buy my book, hopefully you can read the response, and it's something touching. It's something that heartfelt, and I did it out of love. And I hope parents and grandparents and everybody will appreciate it, and hopefully go buy it. And it's on my website, mikeleepoet.com as well. So
that's so beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about Parenthood for you. So you wrote both of these books with your beautiful daughter in mind. So I'm going to ask, how much has Parenthood affected you as an individual? But I feel like it's pretty apparent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be a parent, and when I met my wife 20 years ago, we decided to have a child, and luckily we had my daughter, and she's 13 now. It's the toughest job you'll ever love, as they say. There's nothing stronger than a love that you have for your child. I did it. This is a labor of love. I did it with her help, the first book. And, I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of work, obviously, to write the poems. For me, poetry writing comes naturally. Like, I can write about any subject. I even ask my coworkers at work, I'm like, when I have free time, I'm like, "Hey, you want me to write a poem? What do you want me to write about?" And so they'll give me a subject about germs. So I wrote a poem about whatever topic it is. If you give me 30 minutes, I could probably write you a poem about it. So I like doing it. Stress reliever. It's something I think I'm naturally inclined to do.
That's so amazing, and it's also amazing that you appear to be a very dedicated doctor as well. So to find time to have that stress reliever, find time to create outside of your profession, now it's a second profession for you. So the fact that you kept those two going all your whole life, I mean, it must be exactly what you're supposed to be doing,
The thing about writing poetry, not only it's a stress reliever and cathartic for me, but it's a great thing because poetry is something that it instills, at least my poetry, my brand of poetry is about having fun. I call it the 3 L's of my writing. It involves levity. It's called levity, laughter, and the love of poetry. I want kids and I want people to laugh and have a lighthearted time when they're reading my poetry, and also have a love of poetry, because just like you loved Shel Silverstein when you were younger, I love Shel Silverstein as an adult and as a child. I want people to have that same feeling when they're reading my book. And it's really important this day and age, especially, again, with COVID, with this pandemic, with all the things that are affecting us in this world, climate change, whatever it is, loss of jobs, it's just so important this day and age because, laughter, we know laughter does so many good things. Laughing, having fun, physiologically, it helps you. It lowers your blood pressure. It lowers your heart rate. It's your brain, when you laugh and smile, it sends endorphins, neuropeptides that help relieve stress, help you calm down, helps alleviate anxiety, depression. And we're seeing, a lot of depression and anxiety now. I see it firsthand. People are upset about losing their jobs. They're upset that their families are sick. They're worried about paying their bills. They're, COVID. So, it's just, there's on so many levels, laughter and reading and spending time with your families is important.
Yes. I love that you're saying that it's a medical importance, that laughter is something that we probably do take very much for granted, laughing, smiling. We have the ability to just ha ha ha, like I can do that whenever I feel like doing that and raise my own spirits. But this world and the setting that we've been placed in here is really holding us down a bit. And so there's a need for it now. Before, laughter was something that, we could do on a whim or something, but now as you're saying, it's a need. It's a necessity for us to bring those endorphins back up, to lighten our minds, to do what we can to lift our spirits, and starting with laughter seems like such a, I don't know, almost a throwaway thing, like, oh, that's not going to make me feel better. I'm not going to laugh. I need medicine, or I need to see somebody or talk to somebody about this, and it's something that you don't need permission to do. You can just do it whenever you feel like it. I love that correlation between your writing, poetry, the arts, and medicine and healing. I mean, I think that's what you're saying. Forgive me if I'm paraphrasing incorrectly, but I think that's what you're getting there.
Absolutely right, Conzera, because, we know and we see this, and studies have shown this recently, especially in this time pandemic, the rates of anxiety and depression, especially in our youth, is going up, up, up. So, suicide is like the second biggest leading cause of death in the young population. From the 18 to 24 age group, it's the second leading cause of death, suicide. So obviously, most people that are suicidal oftentimes are depressed and have anxiety problems. And also tied with that is substance abuse. So we're seeing higher numbers of these problems with depression, anxiety, substance abuse. And it's only worse with the pandemic. So whereas pre-pandemic, they did surveys recently. I just read an article, 2019, about 10% of people that they surveyed complained of symptoms of depression and anxiety. Whereas they did the same survey in early 2020, and like 30 to 40% of those people were saying that they had symptoms of depression and anxiety. So people are very stressed, they're sad, and they need outlets and they're not getting it, and COVID is just making things worse. Yeah. So it's even more important this day and age for children to have fun, to laugh, to spend time with your kids instead of being all day on the internet, plopping them in front of the TVs. That's an easy cop-out way to do things. Mm-hmm. It's much harder to sit in front of your child, read a book, play Monopoly, whatever it is, read my book, whatever book you're going to read. Is so important because in this day and age, you see on their computers more, even younger kids, you see your kids. They're playing on their iPads. You see it in the restaurants. You see everywhere that kids are not interacting with other kids. They're spending more and more time on their computers, on the internet, where they're exposed to things that they probably shouldn't be exposed to at that age. And the whole thing about cyberbullying, social isolation, these are not helping our youth to grow and to be productive citizens. They're making them depressed and anxious. And that's what we're trying to combat, because the youth right now, when they grow up, they're not going to know how to interact with people because people aren't going outside playing ball at the parks anymore. They're staying at home because they're scared that they're going to get sick with COVID or whatever it is. So they're not traveling, they're not taking vacations, they're staying at home. And guess what? They're staying on the internet. And guess what? That's going to create adults that don't know how to deal with problems. Because guess what? When you're being bullied online and when you have no outlet, there's no outlet. So you're just stuck at home. And there's no way to deal with people like you and I when we were kids. If there was a fight in the street, okay, you dealt with it. You had your parents involved and they talked it out and you dealt with it. But now, who are you going to turn to?
Right.
There's no alternative. There's no friends that you can talk to. You got to stay in your house because your mom's worried that you're going to get COVID from your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important.
Yes.
So hopefully my message will resonate with people and they'll really start reading to their children because that's another goal of mine, to help families get, because that's so important, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's, as far as technology and being on computers and the iPads and the cell phones and stuff like that goes too, the kids are really emulating what they see. So if we're people, and my work is predominantly online, so I am at my computer quite a bit, and my 1-year-old does see that, but I do my best to close it when she's around because I don't want her, she's interested in what I'm interested in. So if my face is in a computer for 8 of the 12 hours that she's awake, she's going to want to do that too. And that's not her fault. And I'm not necessarily teaching, but I am, aren't I? So if I have my face in a book instead, or if I say to her, let's go for a walk, let's go outside and play, then she's going to want to do those things too. And then she's going to grow into someone who wants to do those things. Right. So I think, saying it's so highly
first few years
starts with us, right?
Exactly. Right. We're the example for our children. So if you're setting the example where you're all the time looking at your phone and texting and on your computer, I mean, obviously you do that because you have to work.
Well,
and I do that, I have to do work. But other than that, when you're done with that, you have to shut off your computers and shut off your iPads and talk to your kids and interact with them and play games and go outside and go to the park and, it's just going to create a better society and a better world for everybody. And it's the right way. Teach them to be civil to each other because kids are not going to learn that from staring at a screen.
right.
They're going to do that by talking to people about their problems. And maybe that's why so many problems are occurring now. Maybe that's why we see so many attacks on the attacks against, people because you don't understand people. You're not relating to people. You're just stuck and getting stressed out and getting depressed. And, medicines aren't always the answer. Sometimes it's talking to people and, dealing with them head on as opposed to just, okay, here, pop a pill,
Right.
and it's a quick fix. That's what America's about sometimes. Just quick. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to pay attention to you. I have no time here. Sit down with the iPad and watch a movie or something.
Right. Right.
That's not always a good answer.
No, it can't be. It can't, because as you said, a quick fix never solves the problem. Quick fixes are temporary holdovers, right? Until we get to the next moment that we need to quick fix, instead of just taking the time that we need. And nowadays, I feel like there's a weird thing happening. We're still telling ourselves that we don't have enough time to do things when we've been given, I don't want to say it's a gift. We have not been given a gift by being home, but there's a part of it that we can look at with some positivity, in that we do have more time with our children. We do have more time with each other instead of me saying, I got to go to work, goodbye, and I won't see you for another, 8 to 9, 10, 12 hours, depending on where you work and how you work. and I'll do with it tomorrow. Instead, I am forced face to face with you. And I should take the time to go, okay, let's talk. Let's sit down and let me listen to you. As opposed to, as you said, putting them in front of another screen. Because I think there's something that happens too.
Right.
It's like a road rage thing that happens behind a computer screen. We get very aggressive and we feel the need to take it out, and I think that's where the bullying comes from, because you can't touch me. I'm all the way over here in Staten Island. You can't do anything to me if I call you out on a computer screen. What are you going to do? Delete me? Delete me. I don't care. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of this track that we're allowing to happen. Instead, we have the time and we have the means to flip that script, and we can start with things like reading. We can start with things like drawing. You got your daughter to collaborate with you on that book. What precious time you shared together during that process, and memories that she'll have forever. And that is so cool. That is so amazing. But in doing a project for yourself, you also did it for your whole family, and then for families you don't even know about, that's a creative way to deal with the pressures, with the stress, with the, who's my daughter talking to? She's talking to her dad. I know that because she's sitting right here with me, right? So that's a beautiful way to take control of that. And as a parent, I'm grateful you did that, because now I can get your book and read it to my daughter and have those precious moments created with her. That's amazing. I hope you write more.
Right.
Are you planning on writing more books in the future?
Well, I constantly write. I write it all the time. Like if a idea comes into my head and I'm like driving, well, I'll try to sketch it down when I'm like at the stoplight. I'll sketch down like a verse or two on a piece of paper that I have in my car. Or if I'm like, before I go to bed, if a thing pops into my head, an idea, I'll write a few lines just to get the verse down, and then I'll continue it, the next day, Or sometimes even like if I can't sleep in the middle of the night, I'll like, oh, this idea I want to write about, and then I just scribble it down on a piece of paper, or sometimes a paper bag, or whatever it is that I can find, right. so that it sticks. Otherwise, I'll forget the idea.
Yeah.
So I always write. I write, like there might be a month or two I don't write at all, and then I'll get inspired. And sometimes by just reading Shel Silverstein again, I'll get re-inspired. Say, oh, okay. Let me try to write again. Then I'll bang out like 10 poems in a week. So it's really kind of like a haphazard thing in a way. But when the mood strikes me, I write. And I hope to put another book. Yes, I also have my wife and my daughter, and I got to pay attention to their work. So it's hard to. That's why I put out this short book instead of just a long book, because it takes a long time to write all these poems and plus do the drawings. It's a very time-consuming process. It took me a year to write those 78 poems, and plus it took me another half year to do all the drawings, and that was with my daughter's help.
Right.
So you can imagine to do it again, it's just like another almost, and plus then you got to edit it and do so that takes like probably 2 years. It's a 2-year process, really.
Yeah. But the
It's
process is still quite amazing what you're doing there. I know several writers who it takes them even longer than 2 years, depending on what they're working on, depending on if they're stuck on a moment or whatever, writer's block, things like that, life coming in and out of the creative process, that's still amazing that 78 is not a small number, Mike. It's not, okay? So be impressed with yourself. I'm very impressed with that. That's incredible. And there's 78 different poems. So it's not like you had the one idea and you kind of launched off the one idea. The one idea was to write poems, right? So that's phenomenal. That's amazing. And now they're out into the world and you're sharing that talent, that skill with other people. And for me, it's all about creating those memories, when I read a book, or reading to my daughter or her learning how to read, some child, maybe even mine, is going to learn how to read from your poems. I mean, that's mind-blowing, isn't it, for you?
I hope so. I really hope that kids pick up my book and with their parents kind of read my book and kind of enjoy it, because that's the whole point. Reading is fun, and reading should be fun, and poetry should be fun. And poetry is a perfect outlet, because when you read a long book, a novel or something, it just like takes forever to read. But a poem, you could read it in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then you have a drawing there to kind of add something to the poetry to make it even funnier, to make it, you know. So poetry is perfect for this world that, like, everyone's on the go and doesn't have a lot of time, and so it's like a modern day quick fix for the you know, on the go person. It's like, okay, I don't got an hour to sit here and read you a book, but I got 10 minutes, so let's pick up this poetry book and read a few poems and get a few laughs, and then okay, then you can go to bed and I can do what I need to do, you know, wash the dishes, whatever. So
For sure.
you know, I hope people will enjoy it and get a few laughs. That's my purpose, and you know, have a good time, because life is short, and you know, we don't have forever here, but hopefully we'll make the most of it.
Yes, absolutely. And especially, you know, with this day and age, how has COVID and working through COVID affected your writing, or I should say affected your mindset about writing? Does it make you feel like it's more important to write now and to express, you know, those thoughts and those emotions, or do you feel like it's kind of always had its place?
Well, certainly, you know, there's always going to be illnesses, and you know, especially in my profession, dealing with sick patients and dealing with tragedies, and but definitely in this, especially this time where we're not able to go out as much sometimes, and we have to worry about getting sick with COVID. I actually had COVID myself in March, so I did get sick, although not super sick, but I did get sick, and you know, it was probably from seeing patients. So you know, I can certainly sympathize with patients, and you know, if people think that it's not real, it's real. Trust me. You know, I see it firsthand. But you know, poetry is so important for me because, especially in this day and age, because it's an outlet for me. It allows me to de-stress, and I even write poetry about COVID. It's not always funny, but like I wrote a COVID Christmas carol, which you know, not everybody will appreciate, but you know, I try to make light of a serious situation, you know, because you know, it's you know, if you think about it and you just think about the tragedies, and you read the newspaper and look at the TV and see how it's affecting people's lives, and how there's not enough ICU beds, and the cases are going up. It just, you know, it just presses you, and poetry is my way of kind of dealing with it, and hopefully, you know, not succumbing to the pressure. And you know, we see it, hear it, the patients, you know, patients and doctors too, they're suffering, and you know, they're committing suicide, they're being stressed out, they're quitting their jobs just because they can't deal with the stress. Mm-hmm. So it's very important, I think.
That's so amazing.
Do what you love.
Yes, absolutely. And you're doing it across the board, aren't you? That's so impressive, and it's very inspiring to hear from someone such as yourself. And I'm so glad you're feeling better now.
Yeah, thank you. I just had to quarantine myself in my basement, so that wasn't fun, but you know, I got through it, and I'm stronger for it, and you know,
yeah.
Anything, you've got to move on, and you know, everybody has tragedy and everybody gets ill at some point, but you know, hopefully positive messages like in my books will help people you know, deal with that stress.
Yes, definitely. So tell our friends, where can they get your books?
Well, it's definitely on sale on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. Of course, my own website, mikeleepoet.com. You can read more about my story, and I have some poems on my website. I have newer poems that aren't published really yet, and also links to buy my books. My new book is not on that link yet because I'm on vacation. It will soon be up available on the website, but for now you can go to Amazon or Barnes & Nobles and get it.
That's absolutely amazing. Mike, thank you so much for being here with us today. We so appreciate your time. And thank you so much for saying what you said about positivity and laughter and being with your family to the extent that you can. You know, some people don't have families and they have tight friends, and that's important too. And you know, that I think it's incredibly important to relate to our friends at home and to our audiences and to the public that we should do our best to stay positive, right?
Exactly. Or, you know, since you're at home, why don't you know, I encourage people to write poetry, get it out because it expresses your emotions. You don't have to write a novel, just write down, open a diary, write your story down, get it out there, get it there in pen and paper so that you can, you know, read your own story, so to speak, and reflect on your life. I mean, it's a great outlet just to, whatever it is you're passionate about, drawing, writing, singing, you should do it. Don't let COVID or anything else stop you because, you know, you have to do what's important to you. You have to spend time with your family. You have to, you know, enjoy life because, you know, you never know what's going to come the next day.
Absolutely. Mike, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hey guys, this is Tina with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have
Miguel.
And how has Corona impacted your love life?
That is a very, very sad story. You know, you just being indoors so much, you don't meet any new people.
Yeah.
All the old people you used to know, you start like not connecting with them anymore. And it's like, you're not meeting anybody new either, so.
But isn't that nice? You're just kind of releasing everyone that wasn't a real...
Yeah, you're learning. Okay, so you are,
Yeah.
but then it's like you're spending more time with yourself, and it's like,
What do you mean? Okay, so how do you feel about Tinder, Hinge, sliding through the DMs?
you know, engaged. I engage.
Yeah.
But with COVID and stuff, you never know people like. I personally don't live with my parents, so I don't care as much. It sounds messed up a little, but like I'm not gonna get them sick. So
Yeah,
if someone lives with their grandma, you know, maybe they're a little more cautious.
So how have you been trying? Is there ways that you've been able to meet people during this time, whether through like...
Mostly just like on walks. Like I'll just go out on a walk or something.
Yeah.
Like I live by a university campus, so I just go walk by it.
That's really smart, actually.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people.
So how do you go about approaching somebody?
Normally just a slight like compliment, like, oh, I really like your shoes, or oh, nice hair. They're like, oh, you smell really good, even though masks, you know.
So do they really smell good, or are you just saying it?
Well, they don't know that, so.
Okay.
She doesn't have to know, but it's like, you know.
Yeah, so before Corona, how did you meet people?
Before Corona, oh, at
Yeah.
parties with my friends, hanging
Yeah.
out. I'm from Vegas, so we go out on the strip, meet tourists.
Oh my god, yeah.
Everywhere, like,
Yeah.
now you can't do that.
So is dating different in Vegas than New York?
Well, I've only been here today.
Oh, so
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just visiting. So I
Yeah.
can't really speak on that, but
So what's the dating scene like in Vegas?
everybody knows each other, so it's, even though it's a city, it's still like a small city.
Yeah.
So you burn a bridge if you talk to one person. Like you talk to one girl, she's friends with every other cute girl, so you just burn your bridges.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
So are you gonna move?
Hopefully.
Yeah, Sedona, Arizona next, right?
Arizona, no.
Where would you go?
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Look at this, like, you can do anything here.
So, what is your anything? What is your dream?
My dream. Let's see. My dream. Honestly, just to have my family remember me in a good way and just feel good about anything I do. It doesn't matter, I feel like, as long as I know that they support it and they're proud of me, it's like, I'll be okay.
So how's your relationship with your mom?
Really good.
Yeah.
That's my homie.
That's my homie.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that if guys have good relationships with their moms, then they have good relationships in the future.
Yeah.
So I mean, he looks single, I think.
I like to think.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, what has been the biggest challenge for you in your love life besides meeting people during COVID?
Besides meeting people during COVID, again, just the burnt bridges thing. Like, yeah, if you talk to one cute girl in a city like Vegas, you kind of just burnt all your bridges with every other cute girl. And
So-
it's just, yeah.
So what if you become just friends with all of them, and then in a month you pick one?
Well, then that's The Bachelor, you know?
Yeah, that's what's up.
And it's just, it doesn't work because it's like, then you just friend zone and all they see you as is a friend, and it's like, you get talked about as a friend in their circle, and it's like, it's done.
So have you ever been friend zoned?
Yeah.
Do you think that guys and girls can be friends?
Yeah. I have friends that are like girls.
Yeah, so someone that friend zoned you, that you guys like still became like...
Yeah.
That's awesome!
To this day.
Yeah,
And I'm happy it happened because it's like, it probably would have ended, the relationship would have ended badly and we wouldn't be friends, you know? But now we're just friends, and like good friends.
Yeah. So you guys, like, you don't have any feelings, she never gets any feelings, you guys are good?
Well, it's like, you know, sometimes because we usually hang out in like a group.
Yeah.
If it's just like two people, like the two of us, it's like, you know, a little friction sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, it's normally okay. Doable.
Yeah.
Doable.
So, if somebody had feelings for you, would you try to avoid them, or would you try to still be their friend?
Oh, I would try to be their friend. Because I just feel like it's rude, like, you know?
Yeah.
People's feelings, I feel like if you hurt their feelings, you're really hurting them.
Yeah. But what about people that are trying to avoid hurting other people's feelings, so they just run away?
Oh, see, so then you're just...
This is like
oh gosh, that's like an inception.
Yeah.
No, it's like... I think you're just more messed up if you do that, because everyone deserves an explanation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Just let people know, like, hey, I'm not into you. Like,
yeah. Okay. And what has your best relationship been like?
My best relationship?
Yeah.
Oh, so I actually had a high school sweetheart.
You had a high school sweetheart,
Yeah, that was probably, you know, you did all the cliche high school stuff.
Yeah.
Just young love.
Yeah. So what happened, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it always happens, you know, it just ends.
Yeah.
I feel like all good things do, and it was just like, it's just time.
The good things end soon, so the great things can come your way.
Yeah, and it's like you just gotta move on.
Yeah.
Next chapter.
So how did you move on completely?
Oh, I don't think I have.
Okay, sounds
Not completely.
Good. Thank you for your honesty.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Terrible.
And what kind of advice would you give to anyone right now trying to meet new people?
Just put yourself out there. It's don't be afraid to be embarrassed. Like, it's whatever. Worst case scenario, you never see him again.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got to lose, you know?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Hey guys, this is Studio with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have
Felipe.
And how has Corona impacted your love life?
Well, it was tough at the beginning because of lockdown. I wasn't able to visit my girlfriend. We lived apart, so there was no way we could talk to each other, just FaceTime. Luckily, things have changed now, improved with the vaccine, so we get to see each other more, and yeah.
And was it more of a challenge, or did it make you guys appreciate each other more being apart?
Well, it was good because we had time for each other, like time for ourselves. It was a while since, you know, we had like time, like a lot of months to be just us, so it was good.
And what is the biggest change in your relationship since Corona?
I think that we learned again how to be like not to be dependent to each other. So I think we learned that.
I love that. And do you think your relationship is more strong now because of the distance?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think if we could overcome that, like, I think we could overcome anything, I guess.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about your girlfriend?
Her sense of humor. Yeah, like, sometimes I'm a little bit grumpy, and she'll just say something that makes me feel better, so yeah.
How did you meet her?
My school, studied in Texas, so I met her there.
Oh, you're all the way from Texas!
Yeah.
Oh my god! And what do you think makes your relationship between you two so great?
Sorry.
I was gonna say, what do you think makes your relationship really great between you two? What do you do specifically that makes it stay together and well?
Well, I think because I'm not from this country and she's from here, like the way we can like teach each other different things that we both don't know. Like she's taken me to a lot of places in Texas, and I want her to meet my country one day. So, yeah.
Well, I hope it goes well with you both. Alright, thank you. No problem. So this is the studio with the Etiquette Show, and with me I have...
I'm Ella. And I'm Lauren.
And how has Corona impacted your love life?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man.
So me and my boyfriend, we were like apart for like a month.
Yeah.
Like we didn't see each other at all. And it honestly made us closer.
How?
Yeah, just because like we didn't see each other all the time. So like, we had to like talk to each other and like, not just be with each other. So it really made us closer.
I agree.
Yeah.
It makes quality time more like...
Yeah, you really appreciate the little things more and like quality time.
Yeah, man. So you guys both were in relationships before, during, and after? Wow, okay. You have any relationship advice for us? Jesus.
Communication is key. Yeah. Just have communication and have fun.
Yeah. Where did you guys meet your manses? Okay.
The science class.
So science, is that something you guys are both into or no?
No. Kind of. Medical.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of.
You guys were just there to find love, not to learn science, okay? And how do you feel the world is right now in the current love life affairs? Right, man.
I think that everyone just like needs to remember to always have love in their heart.
Yeah.
And really just think about other people, not just about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, always have love in your heart.
So how do you have love in your heart when it's really hard?
Keep in mind that everybody's going through the same thing.
Yeah. Everyone has a different story. You never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
Just treat others how you want to be treated.
And would you guys say that you've always been in relationships, or has there been like long stages where you would just be single? And
Long station. Yeah.
I feel like I can tell that because you seem like you have so much love in your heart, and it makes sense, you know? Yeah. And to anybody who's having a challenging time meeting anyone right now, they have to go through Tinder, Hinge, it's hard to meet them at events, what advice would you give them?
Just wait. Yeah.
What do you mean wait?
Like someone's gonna come eventually.
Yeah.
And like once they do come, it's gonna be worth it. The wait.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much.
Of course.
And there you have it. This is the studio reporting to you in Times Square. Now back to you in the studio.
I know. This is awesome. Oh.